Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
Josh, you know what? I know you know this, but do you really know how sort of ahead of the curve I am? Do you know how I know a trend before a trend is a trend kind of a thing? Are you aware of how of that about me? Like that I just have an instinct about things?
Whenever I bring you up in conversation, which is often, I'm like
weirdly
Schnipper,
often, creepily
Lauren
often.
Schnipper, incredibly prescient.
Yes.
Just like a crystal ball of everything, really.
Yes. There's been several times on this show that I've talked about. Probably at this point, I would say one of my second favorite shows. Of course, nothing can compete with The Summer I Turned Pretty that I'll try not to talk about during this show, but it's basically taken over my thoughts, my dreams, my life. We'll move on to Team Conrad. But Dancing with the Stars is and has been for many, many years one of my favorite shows. I'm not one of the things that I think has made it so I can work with talent and, I've been in the room with many famous people is that I've never been a fangirl, right? I remember in whenever New Kids on the Block was big, my best friend got tickets and I went and she was losing her mind and people are crying. And I remember just looking around being what is wrong with people? Actually, the first time that happened to me is my first concert ever was the Michael Jackson concert with The Glove. And wow. I remember, true story. I remember, I think I might have been 6 or whatever. And yes, I'm aging myself. Everybody calm down. I know I look great. I do really remember a girl screaming and crying next to me. And I was like, what is her problem? I've kind of just been this way always. That being said, I am a huge fangirl of Dancing with the Stars to the point where your friend of mine, Allie Berman, is a big agent at United Talent Agency, UTA, and she represents the Queen Charli D'Amelio, who was, of course, on Dancing with the Stars a few years ago. And I ran into her, I believe, at the Streamies, actually, your event, right after Charli had won Dancing with the Stars. And I just was like, oh my God, I love Charli, but it was so good. And she's like, Lauren, why didn't you call me? I could have gotten you tickets to the show. It didn't even, I'm such a fan. It didn't even occur to me that I know people. Do you know what I mean? I know people. Well, let me just tell you something about Dancing with the Stars. They kind of, there's this whole thing going on the internet that Dancing with the Stars is suddenly cool. And it's why is that? And so there was this really interesting article that came out on a website called Her Campus. I recently actually met the founder of Her Campus, Stephanie Kaplan-Lewis. And
hold on. So this is presuming that Dancing with the Stars wasn't cool before. Is it peak coolness now?
Well, this is what I'm trying to tell you. To me, Dancing with the Stars has always been cool. I think it is just I literally, it is my, I have no, when I was little, all I wanted to do was be an actress and be really famous and all those things. As one gets older, listen, I like being well known and an expert in my field. I can't imagine what it's like to be famous and not be able to walk down the street in paparazzi. I would trade it all in and do that and be the most famous person and be chased everywhere if I could be on Dancing with the Stars.
You have a moment alone, you're writing fan fiction about you and Juliana and Derek Hough. That's your special place.
No, it's more me and now I'm being partnered with Mark Ballas. Oh, deep cut. You don't even know what that means. You don't even know what that means. What's fascinating about Juliana and Derek Hough, the brother-sister duo that are dancing professionals. Derek is now the judge. Juliana is now the host. They are Mormons from Utah whose parents shipped them off to live in the UK with Mark Ballas, whose parents are massively successful ballroom dance pros. And they were they grew up as basically brothers and sisters with Mark Ballas in England. And they've been pros since they're 10. And they're only they're in their 30s. Meanwhile, they've been doing this for 30 years. And they're
shipped them off for the purposes of learning how to dance from a professional?
Basically, they were so good that they shipped them off and live in this. Listen, I don't know the details of their family. I think there was a divorce going and they were this is a good idea. I don't want to get into their business.
Don't pretend you don't know the details of their family.
I know some of the
let's
details.
Move on.
The point is, a couple years ago, it was kind of, I don't want to say in a decline, but they had moved Dancing with the Stars from ABC to Disney Plus. It was streaming live on Disney Plus. This was in 2021, I think season 31. And it was it also they had this big shake up. They had these old school hosts that they kicked out. And then they had like Tyra Banks on for a year, which was the most awkward thing ever. So it was Tyra Banks and Alfonso Ribeiro, who I saw on Broadway in The Top Dance Kid 100 years ago. He won Dancing with the Stars a few years ago, or several years ago now, and he's an incredible dancer. But it was so awkward. Tyra Banks, like you see the pecking order of like weird behind the scenes stuff, because clearly in Tyra Banks's like contract, she got to walk out early as if she were on a contract, and then Alfonso Ribeiro would like awkwardly like dance to the stage, and it was so awkward, and she had no business like being on the show. So they got rid of her after a season or two. Julianne Hough and Alfonso now co-host. Genius pairing, chef's kiss, everything about it I love. But basically, what they did a couple years ago is they had Charli D'Amelio on it. And Charli D'Amelio brought the TikTokers. And she obviously was known for dancing, not ballroom at all. And she was flawless. I mean, she was incredible. She's now been on Broadway in a show called & Juliet dancing for a while now. So she's like really like leaned into this sort of her real dancing career now. And so here we are today, and now they have Alex Earle on the show. They also added a one of the pros is like the little sister of one of the older pros, Riley Arnold, who has like a ton of TikTok followers. And what I think the culmination of this is next week, they're going to have an entire show like basically dedicated to TikTok. Charli's going to come back, and they're doing in what's also different this year is they're doing a lot. One of the pros who's not dancing on the show this year, they're doing a live TikTok show, during every episode, like behind the scenes and all this kind of stuff. And they have a companion podcast, which they never had before. They're just like blowing up. And it's like, this is like the 20th year they've done the show. This is not like a new show. But the producers a couple years ago, and it's not unusual that they always would have like a young, I remember I watched when Zendaya was on, they always had like a young kind of former Disney or whatever kind of star. But Charli was, I think, like the first real like kind of social media star. And it's just blown up. And now it's like this season, hold on, where did I just have the stats in front of me? This season's premiere won the night for the second year in a row, but they were up like, I want to see. They were up 6% in total viewers, and they won the night, and they're just like killing it. I think that like what's troubling, and if you've listened to this podcast before, is like the TikTok of it all, and we're in the midst of still like, is this still going to be around? Is it going to be sold? And I think that there's still serious national security issues as it relates to this app. Like I just think that we're now just all willingly ignoring the bipartisan legislation that was passed that we should ban this app because of major national security concerns. In the meantime, Dancing with the Stars is like, I'm gonna lean into this hardcore, and it's like cool now, and it's like it's blown up. And I'm just sort of saying, like, I've been here the whole time, and with or without TikTok, I will still be here. I think also, there's been this like, grudging sort of acceptance within the greater entertainment industry. They're like, oh, you need to have a big social media audience in order to kind of book a movie now and all this sort of stuff. And I think that like that's tough for a lot of actors who like don't necessarily want to do that and stuff. And I think that like I think that's difficult, and I think that's like not necessarily fair, and like it just is what it is. And I don't even know if it's true for like sort of regular TV and film. I think it kind of is.
Well, I
But
think
this
you're
is
proving
also,
the point with this that it is true, right? Like this is the new
I mean, it
normal.
is true in the sense also, this is also a voting show. So the judges, of course, do their scores, and then you like text or vote in, your favorite, contestants. And they go home based on the combination of the judges scores and the audience scores. And it's like, obviously folks have been leaning into, these kinds of, American Idols of the world, like, and stuff. And we've been leaning into social a lot. But I think what's unique about this too, I think, is how dance and TikTok are really sort of inextricably linked. Not
Yes.
ballroom per se, but like Charli was a dancer, like growing up her whole life. And she went on there. I mean, she's told the story many times. She went on there to just like do her silly little dances. And now you've got like, by the way, the whole Mormon wives, you've got a couple of those ladies on this year. They also started with like kind of dancing on TikTok. So I think it's also just like the unique special bond between dancing and TikTok that's also like, that you can't kind of manufacture this. And like, I think Dancing with the Stars is like, okay, we're gonna like, almost like it's surprising it's taken this long, but they're really leaning into it. Like this year is like a full-fledged, again, next week is like a full episode dedicated to TikTok.
Yeah,
It's
what's interesting about this is just that link between this particular mainstream primetime television show and this huge social app is clear and defined, and you can totally see the path. Whereas, for instance, KSI, huge British YouTuber, just got cast to be a judge on Britain's Got Talent for this next year, which is cool. They're trying to get into the youth. They're trying to establish a link between their primetime television show and youth culture. But it's not as clearly linked or defined.
Yeah.
Because it's just this personality that they're trying to bring to clout, where with Dancing with the Stars, it seems like this whole like ethos of at least a huge part of what TikTok is now and a big part of the foundation it was built upon. They're tapping into that, which seems like it's going pretty well.
Well, it's just interesting, not to bring it back to the summer, but like what I think the genius people, the young folks that are like in marketing and like coming up with this strategy that are like really pushing to these executives is like, so again, Summer I Turned Pretty, Team Conrad, Team Jeremiah. The other day I see this, it's going all over. Hilton hotels were started by a guy named Conrad Hilton. And so there's this chain of Hilton like subset that are called like Conrad. And so somebody that was genius on their social team did a whole video of being like, we've always been Team Conrad. And they did this whole, and it's like chef's kiss. It's like when you like are able to organically glob on, attach, put out social content and or strategy as it relates to your show that is organic, and it doesn't feel manufactured again. And it's not easy to do that. Like, it's how do it just happens to be that Conrad Hilton started the Hilton Hotel. Like, it's just like, but it's like, again, to your point, like, it's like dancing and TikTok is so organic. It's just, it is inextricably linked. And it's like, they're like, we're the dancing show. And I don't, Got Talent, whatever, X Factor, whatever he's on, KSI, like, totally get it. But if they could find more of like, when you find those, like, you got to lean into those, even those kernels of like things in social that you can like go into, but sometimes it like backfires and it's gross. So like, listen, I'm sorry, people, it's hard. It's not easy, but when it works,
it's almost as if someone was going to design a primetime television network show right now that catered to Gen Z, Gen Alpha, people that are on social. They would create a dancing show and tie it to TikTok.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, it would make a lot of sense. But because I talked about a few weeks ago when I met the crisis sort of manager that helped the company Astronomer, do the reaction video, the Gwyneth Paltrow reaction video to the Coldplay, Chris Martin, concert cam thing, whatever. We don't have to rehash the whole thing. But what I thought was very interesting and, again, sort of obvious is when they released that video, they just they didn't give it to press first, right? They just released it on the Astronomer kind of socials and LinkedIn page, and they waited for press to bring it up. And it's literally this cat and mouse game. Whereas if you give it to press first and then they push it, it just feels like inorganic. So to your point about like, so this feels so just the diamond in the rough moments on social that feel organic, or that's almost like I hate the word authenticity. Like, people use that all the time. Be authentic. It's not authentic. I think it's organic more that we want to look for. It's like, what are organic moments that are just like make a lot of sense as it relates to the zeitgeist and what's going on online? And that's the stuff that you want to really like put out there as a brand, as a competition show, as a, you know what I mean, a marketer. It's like, it's just all about being organic with social. And I just, listen, again, with or without TikTok, your girl's going to be watching Dancing with the Stars. And it's just a really
sounds like this is a really like soul splitting moment for you, where you have two of your greatest passions. One is how TikTok is a national security threat on one hand, and then on the other side, it's DWTS.
It's on the way. Thank you for knowing.
This is a trying moment for you, Lauren. It's not just a trying moment for you though.
Sure.
The world at large is having a similar King Solomon kind of choice to be made in the future.
Thank you for making this biblical, because it feels that way. Go on.
So, the US seems to be inching closer to this deal where it will have its own TikTok app. At least it seems more like that, given Trump's rhetoric about the deal. More recently, he says it's close. He says we're basically done. We're almost there. He's meeting with China to finalize it, etc.
Just for a bit of context, like, obviously there was bipartisan legislation passed that said that TikTok needed to be either sold or banned within like 270 days, but that the president could extend this. And Trump has extended this deadline, I think, 4 times now.
Right. 4 times for a divest or ban law that was put into place. And
And
now
backed up by the Supreme Court. Like this is like ironclad in terms of this piece of legislation.
I think his administration would not use that terminology, but sure. For another administration, yes, ironclad about what to do here. For Trump, the guy does what he wants.
I think we're ironclad in terms of like there's no like this is deemed not unconstitutional. This was a there's so few things there's so few things that are bipartisan pieces of legislation right now, and this is like it's like this and like banning phones in school are like the only things that like people seem to have to agree on. But go on.
It's been announced in a variety of reports in the press that Larry Ellison and Oracle might be a big owner of this new TikTok app and provide a lot of the infrastructure for it, that they would then lease the algorithm from China, perhaps develop their own, that they would then lease this magical Chinese algorithm from China and ByteDance, but keep all of the data and the servers and everything that the U.S. was not really wanting China to get its hands on in terms of national security and privacy issues with American citizens, keep all that housed in the U.S. and have like a shield around it. Okay. So then this begs the question, if there is going to be a new U.S. TikTok app, is this app going to be also adopted by the rest of the world? Is it going to be available in the rest of the world? Are people outside of the U.S. going to be able to watch it? And one big country, Australia, is kind of contemplating that question right now. So this Liberal Senator James Patterson in Australia suggested that if the deal actually goes through and the U.S. is able to develop its own TikTok app, that Australia should move to the U.S. version of the app as well. He said, quote, "It would be an unfortunate thing if there was a safe version of TikTok in the United States, but a version of TikTok in Australia, which was still controlled by a foreign authoritarian government." That's what he told Murdoch's Sky News, which is also interesting. Rupert Murdoch, famous Australian, also was reported wants to get a piece of this TikTok US deal and maybe part of this investment consortium for the new US app. And so is Australia going to use the old TikTok? Will it use the new TikTok? Will other countries follow suit? Does America have the political clout and just appeal in other countries' eyes right now for them to abandon the regular TikTok and move to the new TikTok too?
I think the answer is yes, but also I don't think it's about political clout. I think it's about like the bottom line is the United States is the most, this country, the is sort of the birthplace of the kind of creator influencer economy. And whatever this country does, I think the world will follow suit because number one, this is where the money is, right? Like this is where the majority of the brand deals happen. This is where all the monetization happens. Like it is well known, English speaking countries in general, but the US specifically is where the majority of the creator economy kind of market is. This is where the majority of the US specifically is where the majority of the creator economy kind of
definitely in terms
lives.
of like quantitative creators, advertising dollars, brands that are active in the space, infrastructure and ecosystem of the platform,
also known as like
and
the entire thing. And so like and so there's no competition as it relates. Like if you are of the mind that like the money always wins, economics always wins, it's not even a question. If this is the app that is of use in this country, everybody else will follow, period. Like it's not even a question. Like any major market that is really trying to compete in the space and make a real moves in the space will have to necessarily follow suit as to what the US is doing, period.
And I imagine it'll be a pretty clean transition as well. Like you were around a big platform when they tried to get people to sign on to another app with Instagram and then IGTV. By the way, there was this very short-lived moment in time, maybe about 12 or 18 months, where the whole marketing campaigns for newfangled digital media apps were rotate your phone to the side so you could see in landscape mode.
Yes. That was like the big thing. IGTV was like, and also as it like relates to Quibi and all these things, it was like the big people was like, oh, look, you can like rotate the way the orientation of the phone and the screen was like, that was the big selling point. And then like very quickly it was like, well, nobody, like people don't really care. They just want to watch the content.
Verizon had a whole app called Go 90, which was what it wanted you to do with your phone. It wanted you to rotate at 90 degrees. That was the whole app's name. In any case,
whole thing was about the technology and like rotating and how you're going to watch. And it was like, nobody cares what's the content. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, go on.
In any case, you've seen an app try to transition people to another app. I think it could go, people are kind of worried about this now. They're hand wringing about like, well,
It's
are a bunch of
different.
accounts going to go over and download this thing? I think 100% yes.
So here's two things. It's actually incredibly difficult to move people to a different app. It's not easy. And IGTV is an example of that. Like I still remember sitting down with one person on the IG team, and like we had already launched Facebook Watch, which wasn't a separate app, but it was like the initial launch of Facebook Watch did not go well. Like the strategy was not great. And so I remember them being like, yeah, this is gonna be a separate app. And I was like, I think this is a terrible idea. And like, I don't want to say I was right, except for the fact that I was completely right. It's actually, it wasn't compelling enough to like have people go elsewhere. Why go elsewhere? And also it's actually really hard to move people. Threads is a good example that went really well, but then there was a lot of kind of churn, people like dropping off. So like there can be better. There's better launches than others, but it's not easy. The difference here is that and I think it's sort of unclear exactly how it's going to be executed, but if one TikTok app is completely deprecated, then people will go and download the new one. Now, do you want to bet your bottom dollar that like IG and all these other like platforms are going to do hard marketing pushes and massive like efforts to get people just to like not do that and just stick with the Instagram and give tons of incentives? 1,000%. So there's going to be some churn. It's going to be a little bit messy. It's not going to be super clean. But if one app is completely not working, people are going to download the new one because TikTok is just that popular. So I think that's what's unique about this situation. You're literally removing potentially something and replacing it with something. And it might even be the thing where what they're going to do is they're going to say, they're going to like likely, and we saw this when TikTok went dark for like a day. You went on TikTok and they just like had a pop-up being like, call your senators.
Totally,
and, like,
yeah, that's what's gonna
whatever.
happen.
So what's going to happen is they're going to go on your TikTok app and see like, this is no longer working. And it's going to seem more like an update. Instead, it's going to be like a download something else. So that there's one thing TikTok has proven to be pretty like genius at is like those kind of bigger moments and marketing and pushes and so like, so that's likely going to be what's going to happen. So it's unlike other kind of transitions. And I think that it will be relatively seamless, but there's going to be there's going to be some churn and there's going to be other efforts to get people elsewhere.
A little churn, getting rid of inactive subscribers ain't a bad thing too.
All right, next up, I want to talk about something that's old yet new. Not old, but like been there, done that. Creator-curated storefronts are coming to Condé Nast and Sephora. So what does that mean? So Sephora has recently announced that they are leaning more into, call it affiliate links, creator storefront. So effectively, they're going to have, they've launched a new venture called My Sephora, where you as a creator can curate your favorite products with Sephora. And when, people go and check out, you get a piece of it, you get an affiliate link sort of commission from it. And the difference between something like this and, a sort of third party independent, creator curated storefront experience is that is obviously seamlessly integrated into Sephora. So you don't have to, in terms of like the fulfillment and shipping and distribution of the products, it's effectively as if you're just ordering things on Sephora.com. And there's been a lot, I say this is old is new again, because I, have over the years looked at so many different kind of startups in the space that have been trying to help independent folks, creators, like create these like really unique storefronts and basically positioning creators as like wholesale, buyers of, so let me take a step back. So historically, commissions for affiliate links are pretty low, like between 1% and 4%. Conversely, if you are like Target, right, and you're buying products and you're putting them on your shelves, you're going to get upwards of 10, 20, even maybe 30% of commission, right? Because you're going to get a wholesale you're going to buy it for wholesale and you're going to get that much larger percentage. So there's a lot of folks out there that have sort of been saying like creators are effectively that shelf and Target, right? And they should be able to kind of get the products for wholesale pricing and get those larger percentages. And so there's been a lot of sort of efforts around that and different startups out there that have sort of like pushed this kind of new experience and thought about how you should think about creators. But one of the issues, and some of them have been able to seamlessly integrate with sort of different stores, because one of the issues is shipping and fulfillment. So you order the product. Am I supposed to like keep inventory, right? Like have which is like costly, right? I've got to have a warehouse, all these things. So the ideal is that you're like directly going straight to the website of the the product, and then they are fulfilling that order, shipping it, and getting it out to the customer. And so what makes it, amazing, and it sort of feels like I can't believe how long this has taken for Sephora because they have been so leaned into working with creators for a long time, is like it's all integrated, right? Like again, it's just essentially what they've created is like an experience that's like an offshoot of the website where it's just like you can now create your little like Josh, skincare store from Sephora. And when I ordered that, you're going to get a cut of it and it's going to go straight to the Sephora kind of fulfillment distribution center and everybody's happy. Similarly, Condé Nast is getting into this. They've launched a new app called Vet. And so it's going to launch in early 2026 and it's going to like allow creators the tools to set up boutique e-commerce destinations. This I'm curious about because this feels like it's going to be more of that. Like it's not obviously Condé Nast is the publisher behind publications like Vogue and things like that. So they don't have their own products. So it's probably going to be more of like connecting with those distribution center. It's not that this is a new concept. It's just that now stores are sort of integrating this into their experience from day one.
And Lauren, Condé Nast and Sephora aren't the only ones that are getting into this creator storefront game. Best Buy launched creator storefronts recently. So did Dick's Sporting Goods. All of them trying to access the power of these creators in this creator economy and do it in a way that makes the most sense to these individual storefronts and brands that have a lot of inventory that creators can then choose from and really be a destination for these creators for a lot of their different products. My only kind of like concern with this is does anybody want this? I mean, creator shopping and these kinds of storefronts are a component of this booming industry. LTK alone said that in 2024, it was on pace to drive $5 billion in sales through its platform. Storefronts aren't the whole thing that LTK does, but it's a component of it. So I think all of these other types of brands and retailers are seeing that this has been a successful component of other people's businesses. They got to get on it on their own. But my sentiment towards this is just feels like frothy right now and kind of like link in bio sites were for creators 5-6 years ago, where like everybody's trying to do this thing because they want to attach to it because they see this potential future where people are going to just go to all these creator storefronts at any given time and shop through that. I don't think it's going to be as big as anybody actually thinks it is. I think it will be a nice to have for these different brands and a way for them to access different touch points with creators. And if they do a deal with creator, they can have their own branded storefront that the creator can send their audience to. But I don't think it's going to be like this huge commercial revenue generator.
Well, I think it's like I think, I'm really obsessed lately with just like leaning in hard to like the niches of the creator economy as it relates to sort of the whole thing, because everything's gotten so big. Because the question you kind of brought up, LTK, it's like, how is this going to affect companies like LTK, ShopMy, where like it's more of like, you can put any link on there, but you're probably going to get those smaller percentages. I don't know what the Sephora percentages are, but like my gut is probably going to be a little bit more. And then if it's not, it should be, because it's going to like incentivize people to use this more directly. But you're going to have, like, if I were Sephora, I'm just going to lean in heavily. They can find the data out there of like who of these they know, right? Like which one of these creators that are putting their stuff on LTK or whatever are like selling the most. So I'm going to those creators and I'm saying, yo, forget LTK. You clearly are like one of the superstar Sephora affiliate link kind of, creators. Use this directly. It's a better experience for your kind of, your followers, and we're going to give you a bigger percentage. And so if you just go super deep with those folks, and similar with all these other categories between Dick's and everything else and Best Buy, it's like, who are the folks that are like the super, hardcore sellers for you effectively? Like these are other storefronts. Like if you're not working with creators, you're missing an entire sort of swath, is that a word, of your of sort of your marketing, right? And they've all realized this. And so that's why it's like, this is not new. The LTK's been around for a while. ShopMy's been around for a while. Like this has all been happening. There's YouTube storefronts. Like everybody's been talking about e-commerce and social commerce for a very long time. And so again, this is not new. It's just like, to your point, like how is this, what does this look like in actual, in actuality? How does this relate to how they're going to use other platforms? I think it's about those hardcore top sellers that they're going to go after. And very curious, it would be awesome to see like a year from now, percentage of sales, that are like they can attribute to folks that are using these dedicated branded, storefronts.
What I think is going to be critical for this is the actual design of the individual storefronts for creators. Because creators, they like their brands, obviously, as they should. It's like the Torah. They don't want to mess with it. They don't want other people to mess with it.
No.
And
thank you for making everything biblical this week. I'm really in this new year.
this
What
year,
year is it?
5786.
5786, this new Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. Thank you for making this very biblical. I appreciate
You're so
this,
welcome.
Josh.
It's just in the air right now.
Yep.
And so creators are going to want to send their fans to something that looks cool. If one of these can be way cooler than the others, I think it's going to have an edge. Or let's put it the other way. If one of these is not cool, creators aren't going to send their fans to it, no matter kind of like what kind of cut they would get.
I think that's a piece of it. I'm not really worried about the user experience piece of it. I mean, yes, that's sort of table stakes, as I like to say. Like, if this is not a great seamless experience for creators and their followers, like it's a non-starter. I think it's more about if they can get to the right folks and get them the sort of a more incentive to sort of use this in a way that as opposed to other, because the LTKs of the world are also going to like react to this, right? This is also going to be a loss leader for them if like a lot of folks like go over. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the percentage of folks that actually do this. And I don't know that Sephora needs like 10,000 people doing this. They need like a good amount of really hardcore sellers, and then like everybody wins.
Yeah, and really smart and to use a vocabulary word twice in one episode, prescient of LTK and ShopMy to build their own kind of ecosystems and apps, because they probably saw that this was coming. Storefronts aren't a difficult thing to create and do. So they want to create their own experiences where users are going to these apps and destinations because of the vibe, feel, types of creators that are in there, and purchase directly through those apps rather than the Sephora storefront in the future.
All right, Josh, you have any uploads or downloads?
Lauren, I in fact do. So you're a big football fan.
Biting my tongue not to say that I danced in the first official Jacksonville Jaguars game in the pre-show and the halftime show. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that. Go on.
Our audience was just waiting for you to say it while you were talking about your whole dancing bit earlier.
I'm telling
like that whole segment, there was no Jaguars reference.
Your girl was a dancer. Go on.
The NFL is having a hell of a season right now. Okay, for the first 2 weeks of the official NFL season, the average television and streaming viewership is at 20.7 million people per game. That's up 4% from 2024 and a whopping 17% from 2023.
Wow.
So it is, one, just showing that live sports in general are on the up and up.
Sure.
And two, that people love them some football.
Yeah.
And
do you think this is like a Taylor Swift effect?
I do not think this is a Taylor Swift effect. I think this is just live television is the only thing that's appointment viewing anymore in this ecosystem where nobody has, except for me and maybe a few million other people in America, digital bunny ears and aren't convening around the television at a certain specific time with their family to enjoy wholesome programming together. It's, you can watch it on your phone. You can turn it horizontal, vertical. You can stop whenever you want, pick it up whenever you want. No, it's great. I love all those conveniences. I think there's a place for both. I think that's what it's a factor of.
But I think this might be a little bit of a spillover Taylor Swift effect, because this has been a while that this has been the only appointment viewing. And I think that she has, love it or hate it, invigorated the sport by bringing a whole new swath of people into NFL. So I just it's not like this hasn't been the only appointment viewing for a long time.
Okay, so let's give her a portion of that, up 4% from 2024. She gets what, 10%, 20%?
And she should get paid for it. Go on.
Okay. I think she is getting paid for it.
Good.
What's more here is that there's this new study from Horowitz Research that says the NFL is also racking up a ton of viewers on second screens. So the idea of second screen viewing, you're watching something on your TV, you're also browsing through stuff on your phone. Normally, if viewers are watching Netflix or some general entertainment programming, they're scrolling through unaffiliated content on their phones. They're watching whatever. They're checking socials. They're responding to emails. They're looking through TikTok or Instagram, etc. But what's really interesting here is viewers are still getting out their phones while they're watching NFL football. But most of them are tuning in to NFL-related content. So research concluded that, quote, from shopping in real time to engaging across multiple platforms, today's NFL audience is blending technology and interactivity to redefine what it means to be a TV fan, end quote. Their data showed that 63% of NFL viewers engage with related social media, either by looking at posts or making their own, while they're watching. It also showed that 39% of NFL viewers are engaging with extra behind-the-scenes content like player cams and drone footage. They also are engaging with their dollars. 51% of NFL viewers shop for sports merch while actively watching live games. 43% also engage with live sports through, quote, interactive gaming features or video games. Could be fantasy sports, could be gambling. That's
so
probably
interesting because,
also a
again,
boon for that.
like 5 years ago, there was a huge swath of companies out there that were trying to like capitalize on the second screen experience and make it like gamify it and make these apps that like when you're watching, you can do this and that, whatever. And it just didn't catch on. And I'm not smart enough to understand why it didn't catch on. And now it's a thing now. What's interesting about what you're saying is these stats, it doesn't seem like, unless I'm hearing it incorrectly, that like they're engaging with like, I'm making this up, like the random app that has that gamified thing. They're just like going on social and looking at the players' Instagram and TikToks and stuff like that. So it's not like any one person or company is out there that's like sort of captured the second screen experience. It's just that like people are viewing this content sort of independently. The players' content. I mean, it's very interesting. Like
Totally interesting.
I wonder what it is. You know what I mean? Why now? Why not 5 years ago?
I think it's also the ascension of huge sports betting and gambling entities being legalized in many states around the US, like DraftKings, Prize Picks, Underdog Fantasy, that have increased the interest in this and make it so people, when they're watching a live game, are obviously going to be engaging in a lot more content around that game because they have money on the line.
Yeah. No,
I'm not going to say that's the whole reason for this, but that's definitely a portion of it.
I mean,
I think it's just like a Taylor Swift-sized portion, probably a few Taylor Swift-sized portion of
I think that it's true, though. I think that there's a lot, you can't attribute it to one thing. There's a lot of different things that are contributing to this. And again, to your point, Taylor Swift is a piece of it. Betting is a piece of it. There's just like a lot of different, I think the players leaning more even into social relative to think about how many people, obviously there was like no real TikTok like 5 years ago. So how many of those players are now on social that weren't every one of them versus
and
like
just
maybe
the generational shift too of those players. Lots of the players that are in the NFL now grew up watching TikTok, posting some stuff on Instagram, etc. There's more content for viewers to consume of these players because they're more in it.
Fascinating stuff. All right, great. The only upload download I have is that like I hope soon to get my life back from The Summer I Turned Pretty, which it's just really tough right now. It was a really good show. The finale was phenomenal. And the memes and the content. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been creating ancillary content. There's specifically one creator, Bookbee Danny, makes the most unbelievable reaction videos to like the series and just the analysis. This is the analysis that the internet does on this series. Of course, it was a book series, and now it's the show created by a woman named Jenny Han, who created all the Summer I Turned, To All the Boys I Love You series or whatever. And by the way, speaking of Taylor Swift, she is a thread in all this because they use a lot of her music and a lot of her lyrics actually show up in the dialogue of the show, and it is just like. I was talking with a friend who is now the head of partnerships at Substack, who is also a woman of a certain age and obsessed with this show and like created a Substack about it. And I was like, do you think Jenny Han looks at some of these people that are analyzing this and is like, girl, you crazy? Like, I'm not going that deep. And we were discussing and concluded that it's like, yes and no. She is both Jenny Han, a fan of like the series and what she has created and loving seeing this. And she is also like goes fairly deep and makes these like very arbitrary connections of color and light. And like the lyric that was in the one Taylor Swift song from like season 1 now comes out of a piece of dialogue in season 3. I mean, it is just mind blowing. And someday I'll get my life back. Anyway, thank you to the internet for that. And I need to move on. And Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you just practicing your old Jacksonville Jaguars routine to try to get that spot on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God, a girl can dream. Literal dream.
Pretend you don't know it by heart already.
Okay.
If not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.